What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my Week 3 Power Rankings, where I think in the first 2 weeks we have successfully managed to piss off every single fan base in the NFL. Look, I get it. You're fired up about a win. You're passionate about a loss. This team beat that team. This team almost beat that team, but they fumbled in the fourth quarter. Yada, yada. I get it. But I've had so much fun with these comments to these videos, and all I'm going to say is a power ranking is how I view these teams heading into this week. If Team A played Team B in Topeka, Kansas this week, who do I think wins? Yeah, who they've beaten, who they've played, what the record is, it can show us some things, but let's remember to not overreact from any given game in any given week. So with that message, let's get into the power rankings this week. It was a great week of football, starting with number 32, the Arizona Cardinals, making their way to the bottom of the list. The offense is stagnant, and it's affecting a defense that clearly isn't an elite defense. This team was a 6-point underdog at home against the Bears this week. I think that tells you everything you need to know about the Cardinals. We do get to see Josh Rosen now. Maybe it sparks some things. This is a team that I actually ranked pretty high coming into this year at like 19, but we've got a new team at the bottom. And then a bit of a surprise here at 31. This is definitely going to be the biggest faller, I think, barring another significant injury, similar to what we just saw from Jimmy Garoppolo, falling 22 spots, the San Francisco 49ers. Not only from a schematic standpoint do you have a significant drop-off in talent and what you can do with your offense, it's not an elite defense. Richard Sherman just goes down, but the mental effect of losing that stud quarterback, I think it's going to be fairly similar to what we saw in Green Bay last year, although there isn't even that glimmer of hope that Garoppolo could come back this year. He's done. This was a winless team without him last year. I think it returns much closer to what they were last year before the Jimmy Garoppolo trade than anything else. Number 30, the Oakland Raiders. And they almost pulled off a win in Miami this week. I actually picked them this week. They come up short in the fourth quarter, can't close the game. They just don't have enough playmakers. It's just not a good roster right now. 29, the Houston Texans. Could argue this is the most disappointing team so far of the season. Team with a lot of hype, but the most disappointing thing is everyone was kind of saying as long as they're healthy, they're going to be a top 10 team, a contender in the AFC, and they're healthy, but Deshaun Watson isn't even a quarter of what he was last year, seemingly, looking like one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL this year, and the defense just not getting the job done. Clearly some holes on that side of the ball, and now serious hot seat conversations for Coach Bill O'Brien. So the Texans are in a bad way right now. And then moving up 4 spots, the Buffalo Bills. Huge upset in Minnesota. Josh Allen making a lot of people, mainly draft Twitter, quickly trying to make up on everything they said about him being an undraftable prospect, worrying about that 56% completion percentage. Look, he's got his flaws, but clearly one of them is not accuracy. And I've been saying that from the get-go. He's going to have to continue to develop his decision-making, learn when to just eat it and take a sack, especially on this bad Buffalo team. But you're feeling really encouraged right now if you're a Bills fan. Now, I don't know if they're going to keep rising. I don't know if they're going to keep pulling upsets like this. The defense did play really well. Was a playoff team last year, so we'll see how they follow up a stunning performance this week in Green Bay this week. But for now, a +4 for Buffalo. And then the Bucs moving down 1. Now they started to get on fire at the end of that Monday night game against a terrible Steelers defense. They end up coming up short. Now we're going to have Jameis Winston coming back off suspension. And we're going to have some interesting conversations here. I never really bought into this whole Fitzmagic hype thing. They pick up a loss this week. I'm mainly worried about that defense, and you guys know I'm not a Jameis Winston guy. I don't think the offense is going to get better with Jameis Winston coming back, potentially. So still in kind of prove it, wait and see, despite a really exciting first 2 weeks for the Bucs. And then the Jets at 26, tough loss in Cleveland. Really concerned about the offensive coaching here. Some of you might think I'm trying to defend my boy Sam Darnold, but you watch that game, extremely conservative play calling. They had a chance to really put that game away late. Maybe not put it away, but go up in a big way in that fourth quarter. And they run the ball on first and second down, putting Darnold in a 3rd and 12 situation against a good Cleveland defense. But really throughout the whole game, it was horizontal offense, not trusting the quarterback, really taking a step back from everything I thought we saw 2 weeks ago against Miami, where I thought they opened up that offense a little bit. I thought they really went into a shell. So I want to see them open that offense back up. I still think the defense is all right. I don't think that's necessarily a bad loss, a close game in Cleveland, at least by the Jets standards. And then 25, the other New York team, the Giants. Convincing win over the Texans. It's not saying a whole lot. I feel pretty good about what this Giants team is. Average defense, average offense with a terrible offensive line and a well below average quarterback. And then at 24, we've got those Cleveland Browns moving up 5 spots. A lot of people waiting for me to talk about Baker Mayfield. Now we'll hear even more about him in my weekly Studs and Duds video. Definitely impressed. You can see when he has a clean pocket, he can absolutely rip it. My criticism of him was always, how does he look on throws deep downfield, 20 plus yards? And how does he look throwing on the move as far as that elite arm strength goes? I mean, he's showing elite arm strength inside the pocket, but these are all throws with his feet set. This isn't me hating Baker Mayfield. He's a smaller guy. It's likely that it's great mechanics and using his full body to project into those throws that helps him get such great velocity. So can he do that without his full body to do so? In other words, is it arm talent or is it a combination of arm talent and technique? Taking a wait and see approach with that, but I'm ready for anything after how great he looked on Thursday night. We'll see how he looks on the road in the NFL. I still don't think this is going to be anything close to an above average offense. I still think they've got a lot of problems, even if Baker Mayfield's a stud quarterback. But defensively, really good defense, definitely a top 10 defense right now. And basically, when the Browns took Denzel Ward at 4 overall, really high pick for a corner with a good pass rusher on the board, basically said this guy has to be Marshawn Lattimore for this pick to work out, who had an outstanding rookie year. And he comes in and he has been one of the best corners in the NFL already this year. So looking like a good pick there of Denzel Ward. The front 7 is really good. They got a combination of safeties that can play. So Cleveland definitely making things interesting here. And they're going to go and play the Raiders this Sunday. 23, we got the Dallas Cowboys. Now the offense is absolutely stagnant. Dak Prescott proving that he can't carry the load without help. And defensively, they've got some nice pieces. This team just doesn't have it all put together. And then 22, the Chicago Bears basically staying put here. Again, just coming back to Mitch Trubisky, who looked really bad yet again. And every week he looks bad, you get more and more concerned. But the defense, Khalil Mack, this is going to go down as one of the best trades in NFL history from the Bears' perspective, and I think one of the worst trades in NFL history from the Raiders' perspective. Khalil Mack is changing the outcome of games. This is the best defense around him that Khalil Mack has ever had, and you can see the impact it's having. This is turning into one of the best defenses in the entire league. Also, Eddie Jackson in that second level, a guy I've taken kind of a wait-and-see approach, is really impressing as well, showing really good range that I didn't know he had. And then at 21, staying in the NFC North here, the Detroit Lions picking up a pretty shocking win over the New England Patriots. Now, while I don't think the Patriots are a good football team right now, this is still an impressive win for Detroit. How often have we seen Matthew Stafford come out flat, not play up to competition, and really disappoint? That was not tonight. They also got the running game going, so things starting to look up for Detroit. But from an overall talent perspective, I still don't really see them in the picture here in this loaded NFC that I will say is getting less loaded with some serious injuries now to the Falcons and the 49ers, who I considered kind of wild card spots, at least right on that fringe. Anyway, moving on to number 20, the Miami Dolphins moving up +7. Dolphins fans going to be happy to see that. I haven't given much love to Miami, but I'll admit, this team is surprising me this year. Mainly on the defensive side of the ball. This is probably a top 10 defense right now. What is most surprising to me is how well this team is clicking. You can talk about star players, you can talk about elite quarterbacks, but there's a reason when I did my deep dives, I put so much emphasis on that coach and culture thing, and that's really what I think is going on here. It's a mentally tough team. They've got players that understand their role. They know how they're going to win games, which is with good defense, protecting the football, getting some big plays on offense. We saw another one this week with a jet sweep to Jakeem Grant. And I just think Adam Gase has these guys playing at a very high level right now. Now, I don't know how sustainable this is going to be. At some point, I think over history, we've seen that talent eventually catches up, especially at that quarterback position. I still don't love Ryan Tannehill, but they're going to go to New England this week, and that's going to be a heat check for both of these teams. Miami, who is hot right now, and New England, who can't buy a win. So all of a sudden, this is a huge game this week, and could we see Miami passing New England next week? We'll see. I think at some point it's going to come down to Ryan Tannehill and we'll see how it goes. And then at number 19, I gotta apologize. I talk all the time about not overreacting to a single game, and maybe I became too eager to just say that I was wrong and get that out of the way. But with Jacksonville now scoring 6 points at home and losing to Tennessee without a healthy Marcus Mariota, I kind of want my take on Jacksonville back after I raised them like 9 or 10 spots last week, whatever it was. Look, the defense is great. That's what I've said all along. And last week, Blake Bortles had a crazy stat line. A lot of stuff came on crossing routes, wide open receivers, had plenty of time to throw, and we asked, how much of that was Blake Bortles and how much of it was just the Patriots stinking right now? And based on the difference from last week to this week, I think you gotta say majority, Patriots can't cover a crossing route. That's what Detroit exploited as well. So Blake Bortles proving yet again, throwing for like 130 yards on like 33 pass attempts. It was just check down after check down, never doing anything to win that game. Was basically praying that his defense would score a touchdown or something, because they were not scoring the way they were playing offense this week. And that's what scared me about Jacksonville this entire time. So they're going to move back down 7. It's still higher than where I had them to start, but they did nothing but reassure everything I said about them over the summer. And then at 18, the team that just knocked off Jacksonville, the Titans. And this is a team I can't get a beat on this team. I want to like this defense. I'm a little scared by the fact that I think outside of Jarrell Casey, their 2 best players might be Harold Landry and Adoree Jackson. Definitely Kevin Byard in there. But those are young players. I don't know exactly what to expect from week to week. And then offensively, it's not a good offense, but we haven't seen a healthy Mariota for 80% of this season. And I don't even know if we're going to get a healthy Mariota this week. And I don't even know if a healthy Mariota is that good. So there's so many questions still around this Titans team. I think while a lot of these teams are showing their true colors already by week 3. The Titans, I still just have no idea. I started with them at 16. They moved down to 20. I think they're right in this range, but they're kind of like the opposite of the Dolphins, who we said have an identity. I don't know what the identity is for the Titans. I think it's not actually far off from Miami. I think it's play good defense, take care of the football, get some big plays on offense, but I don't know if they're set up as much for that approach. I will say it's been a mentally tough team so far under a rookie head coach. Some really weird games, and they're 2-1 right now with a huge win in Jacksonville and in first place in their division. So given everything that's gone wrong, I think Titans fans are pretty happy right now. I need to see what this team actually is before I'm comfortable closing in on the top 10 or anything for this team. And then I do have the Colts here at 17, so 3 straight AFC South teams. They almost went into Philadelphia and beat Carson Wentz and the Eagles this week. The biggest thing for this Colts team is the defense is extremely underrated. And I knew it was going to actually be okay, solid, but the emergence of Darius Leonard has given this defense an identity. And it's not like they need to be this elite defense, but just by the eye test, it does seem better than anything Andrew Luck had before the shoulder injury when he had to win games by, scoring 30 points or whatever. So I still think they got the best quarterback in the division. With how Deshaun Watson has looked, with the question marks around Marcus Mariota, I don't think it's remotely close that they have the best quarterback in this division. So I'm excited to see this team get into divisional play here and see how they match up. Then 16, the Bengals staying put. Got a pretty firm grasp on what this team is. Pretty much right in the middle of the NFL, hence the 16th ranking. Solid defense, solid offense, bunch of good players. Don't trust Andy Dalton on a week-to-week basis, but he has played pretty well so far. Solid team. Played well in Carolina this week, I thought. Had some bad turnovers. AJ Green, though, groin injury. That's going to hurt them a little bit. And then the Panthers at 15. Credit to this offensive line. I thought when Darrell Williams, the highest rated right tackle by PFF last year, goes down, Matt Khalil, not a great left tackle, but a starting caliber one. Both those guys out. I thought this team was going to kind of fall apart offensively. They've done the opposite. They've clicked. They may be playing at an even higher level than they were last year. Christian McCaffrey looks great. They're blocking in the pass pro. Cam Newton, I think, might even be entering a range of crazy to say this, being underrated. 2 years ago, I said on this channel after he won an MVP, he was the most overrated player in the league, but that became so mainstream that now I think people might be sleeping on Cam Newton. I don't know. He's still a really good quarterback. And when he's on, he's an MVP caliber quarterback for sure. And then the defense is really freaking good. The kid out of LSU, Jackson, the corner, total stud. That was a big weakness for them. So I'm starting to rise back up on this Panthers team. I'd kind of written them off for the playoffs, but if they snuck in as a wild card or even got into the conversation for this division, at this point, it really wouldn't surprise me. And then 14, the Seahawks. Really good to see this team step up this week. This was my lock of the week, was the Seahawks to bounce back their first home game. We know this team's going to struggle against great pass rushes. They had to deal with Von Miller and Khalil Mack in the first 2 weeks. I've been telling everyone to shut up about this Legion of Whom narrative with Cam Chancellor gone, Richard Sherman gone, Cliff Averill. Look, those guys didn't really play for this team in the second half of last year anyway. This is a good defense. They still got Bobby Wagner and Earl Thomas, who you could argue are the two most important pieces of the Legion of Boom. So I think it's a really solid defense. You got Russell Wilson on offense. This is not a team that I think people are looking forward to playing against, even if they're not some dominant playoff caliber team. I really do think they could play spoiler any given week. And then 13, the Denver Broncos. Kind of more of the same. Tough to win in Baltimore. If a blocked field goal that went for a touchdown doesn't get called back, who knows if that game changes. But I think it's a good team. I like this defense. They can make some plays offensively. Still don't really trust Case Keenum, though, every week. And then the Washington Redskins at 12. I'm really regretting moving them down 6 spots last week. I'm putting them right back where I had them. This is a team I really liked in the preseason. Really thought this defense was going to fly under the radar as a team that proved to be kind of exactly what they were this week. Going to give up some yards. They don't really have any stars, but they're mentally tough. They can force turnovers. They're physical. That's exactly what we saw. And in the fourth quarter, when Aaron Rodgers was trying to lead a comeback, they come up. I think it was Fabian Morale, the rookie corner. I could be wrong. Rips the ball out of Randall Cobb's hand. Dagger. No coming back from that one. And then offensively, they really came out hitting hard early, but did slow down as the game went on. So you definitely got to play well to beat this Washington team. We'll see if they can have that upside to get into the playoffs in this NFC. But overall, it's just a fun team to watch. They play football the right way, in my opinion, and that's physical. And then 11, the Steelers are going to stay put here. It seems I did not go all in enough on saying that the Steelers defense was probably going to be a dumpster fire this year. That was definitely underselling that. This is an atrocious defense. They let the Bucs get back in this game. No pass rush, terrible coverage. Not a good combination. Steelers fans went just belligerent on me when I said, look, I know they had a bunch of sacks last year, but you look at the personnel here, I think it's a bottom 10 pass rush. You watch the games this year, they don't have a pass rush. Bud Dupree, TJ Watt. TJ Watt might be a number 2 pass rusher. They definitely don't have a number 1. Oh yeah, and the linebackers stink too. And then you throw in the fact that the offense is still really good, but not quite as explosive as we've kind of gotten used to in the last couple of years. Again, I'm not really worried about the offense. And I've got them ranked in the top 11 here, so I don't think it's like the apocalypse for the Steelers or anything. But they really got to be firing on all cylinders offensively to win. And then at 10, staying in the AFC North, the Baltimore Ravens. Feel pretty good about what this team is. They're going to be really tough at home. I still think they're really well coached. I like Harbaugh. The offense is getting a little bit back to what they do well, which is running the ball, taking shots deep. John Brown looking pretty good. Definitely a better offense than we saw last year from the Ravens. And then defensively, no CJ Mosley, but they still made enough plays to win this one at home. They're obviously a much better defense with CJ Mosley out there. They had Eric Weddle as the primary play caller here. He had to walk into the box to tell everyone the calls and then get back. That's not ideal. They got to get Mosley back here. But the AFC North definitely tightening up. Not even willing to write the Browns off at this point in that division. And then at number 9, I was actually surprised that this team went up, but the Atlanta Falcons finding their rhythm offensively, second week in a row, just blowing up. And they're getting Calvin Ridley involved. Obviously, 3 touchdowns, big plays in this one. And as long as this offense is the machine that it is, they're going to be in any game. But Ricardo Allen now goes down with an Achilles injury. This defense is really getting dangerously bad right now. Didn't really love it in the first place, but I thought it was fine. But they're losing all of the key pieces here. We'll see how long they can keep this rolling, and they did end up losing this game. Saints end up with 43 points after overtime, and the defense allowed just a long drive to win it. So let's move on. Number 8, the Patriots are actually moving up this week, which is crazy, and this is probably the one you guys are going to choose to focus on in the comments, which is fine. This is definitely more about the teams around them falling, most notably the 49ers, who I had them ranked a spot above, and I'm just not quite ready to place any of those last 5 teams above the Patriots. So I think you guys can understand that. Look, they're going to be fine. I think they'll bounce back, right? This is what they do every year. Now, I do think this is one of the worst Patriots teams we've seen in a long time. I'm definitely worried about this defense, especially the speed of their linebackers. They're just getting killed on underneath crossing routes, all this stuff that modern offenses are thriving in right now. But I'm not worried about this offense that has looked really bad as of the last few weeks. They'll figure some things out. They're going to get Edelman back after this week. We'll see if Josh Gordon gets involved. But I don't know, man. I feel like I'm going to go all in on the Patriots beating the Dolphins this week. If they do lose this one at home to Miami, I'll start getting on the end of an era wagon, because that would be a big one. But this team has just proved us wrong time and time again. I'm definitely not going to be too eager to bet against this Patriots team with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. And then number 7, the Chargers moving up despite losing to the Rams. Again, just kind of by default. I still think it's a really good football team. The Rams are a buzzsaw right now. The one thing I will say is, yet again, critical turnover late in the game. They're trying to rally. They're about to score, make it a one-score game with plenty of time left in the fourth quarter. Austin Eckler this time, the culprit, fumbles, and that was your dagger. It is inexplicable how consistent they are at giving games away with mental mistakes in the fourth quarter. They are the opposite of the Miami Dolphins. They have all of the talent in the world, but no mental toughness. And I do think when they get Joey Bosa back, this defense is going to just kickstart. It has not been a good defense, but they have a ton of talent. Derwin James looking great. That secondary is going to get a huge spark with the return of Joey Bosa whenever that happens. And I thought they played the Rams pretty well, to be honest. And then number 6, the Saints staying put here at number 6. Defense is going to be an issue here, it seems, for the Saints. But you do like to see Drew Brees, potentially the MVP of the league right now, it's either him or Mahomes, still playing at an absurdly high level, able to carry this team. After last year, he didn't have to. People thought he may be washed up. He's not. This is an explosive offense. Michael Thomas is killing it. Alvin Kamara, the offensive line is good. If they could just get back half of the success they had defensively last year, I'd be much more scared of this team. But you are asking a lot of that offense right now. A lot of mental mistakes from that defense. And then number 5, the Vikings are going to drop. Definitely showing some of the flaws that I was worried about with this team heading into the season, most notably being that offensive line play, paired with the fact that Kirk Cousins has never been an elite play extension guy when he's under a bunch of pressure. We saw him failing to take care of the football early in this game, and they just fell way too far behind. Now, the defense, that was just weird. A lot of just dumb mistakes, leaving guys wide open. But they were clearly not ready for Josh Allen. This was your classic trap game. They were sitting a bunch of star players. Cook, Everson Griffin was out. Your 17-point favorites at home. They definitely just kind of showed up and assumed they would win, and were reminded very quickly that this is still the National Football League. You still got to play the game. So there are legitimate reasons to drop this team, but I do think they're still a top 5 team. I think they can beat anyone in this league on any given day. Let's move on. Number 4. In the NFC North, the Green Bay Packers. Tough loss in Washington this week. The defense really struggled early in this one. While they have some improved pieces on this defense, they definitely still have some major holes. We really highlighted Kentrell Bryce last week. Won't spend any more time on him, but he did give up a 45-yard touchdown right away in this game to Paul Richardson. Was in awful position. Pass rush worries me. So the defense takes a bit of a step back this week. And then offensively, I don't know if I'm willing to call it a step back this week. Just a rough game at the office. Brian Bulaga goes down, I think in the second quarter here. He leaves for the game. Rodgers was under a ton of pressure. Receivers did not do him any favors. You had 3 drops, 2 on third down. You end up punting, 1 on fourth down. That's effectively 3 turnovers right there. And then Randall Cobb with the fumble in the fourth quarter. You credit that 4 turnovers on the receivers. So they've got a chance to bounce back this week at home against the Bills, who just played spoiler to the Vikings. I think the Packers will be all right. And then we get into the top 3 here. And like I said last week, I think the top 4 from last week were kind of in their own tier. But I think the Chiefs now have clearly entered this elite tier of teams. The offense is just unstoppable. They did actually start to show some signs of humanity later in this game. They slowed down, but that does happen as you start to get more conservative. Just the combination of Patrick Mahomes, his evolution of a player paired with his physical talent, surrounded by the talent around him and the play calling, it's just incredible. And the defense isn't great. I think this team is very similar to like Green Bay and New Orleans right now, where the offenses can really score at will, but you just don't know what you're getting on defense. Getting Eric Berry back should spark this defense, though, to be definitely interesting. And then number 2, the Philadelphia Eagles, first game back with Carson Wentz, a good home win against the Colts. They're going to continue to get healthier. I think they're going to start to gather some of that momentum from the Super Bowl last year and quite possibly get back that number 1 spot as the team that nobody wants to play. But for now, it's going to be the LA Rams, an absolute buzzsaw right now. Both the offense and the defense are playing a little better than I expected on both sides. And I thought they would be good on offense and good on defense, but they've really been elite on both sides of the ball. This offense is just a machine. Jared Goff looks really good. All the throws are there and set up for him. The whole system quarterback thing, but man, he can really sling it. You can see why this guy is the number 1 overall pick. I've been comparing him to Matt Ryan really all throughout this preseason. I think he's shown that he's got a lot more arm talent than Matt Ryan and could prove to be much more accurate across the entire field than we've ever seen from Matt Ryan. So starting to buy into Goff a little bit, but then on the defensive side of the ball, just these corners locked down. Now they're injured right now, and that could definitely play into Minnesota's benefit here as they're going to play in a short week Thursday night. Minnesota has the 2 good receivers. Could be a real nice break for them. That's going to be a great game. And I do think this defense takes a step back without those corners. But that's going to do it for the week. Looking forward to hearing from you guys in the comments. I had a lot of fun with that in these first few weeks. If you enjoyed, if you learned a thing or two, hit that like button. Helps me out really more than you guys know. So cheers as always, and we'll see you next time.